Hi everyone, welcome to the first official Arco On Air podcast. It's finally here and we have a very interesting guest for the first episode. Jonathan Simmons, a pleasure.
No, thank you for having me.
No worries. So Jonathan, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your role in the recruitment team at Arco?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'm Jonathan Simmons, the Talent Acquisition Manager for Arco. I've been with the business now just over 2 years. Essentially, my role is to lead the talent acquisition and recruitment function, and then I form part of the wider talent and people functions as well.
All right, okay. Cool. So what sets Arco apart from other companies then? So within the industry when it comes to kind of employee development and satisfaction?
Yeah, the lucky thing for Arco is that we have a heritage and a history of over 140 years now. We're still a family-owned business, so there's been lots of opportunity with the successful history that we've had to obviously bring people into the business and develop them over that course of time. I mean, there's plenty of examples now of, we could go on forever about people that have worked in Arco and joined us in an entry-level role and, developed their career now to be with us over 40 years. So
it's interesting, 140 years of Arco.
It's
incredible.
It's crazy.
It's our birthday this year. So okay then. So let's talk about career progression. How does Arco support employees in advancing their careers within the company?
Yep. So we've got lots of initiatives that we do as a wider talent and people function, and in particular with the L&D team as well. There's a number of things that they do to obviously help people that are currently in the business develop, and also, I suppose, achieve their career aspirations. And hopefully, the aim of that is to stay with us. So I think we'll come on to obviously exactly what them initiatives are later in the podcast. But essentially, there's loads of things that we do to help with career progression and internal mobility to allow people to move into new roles within the business.
Yeah, so is there any specific programs or initiatives that Arco offers to help employees grow professionally or?
Yeah, so we've got a dedicated L&D team. So Darren Ford, who is an example of being here for a number of years, I think he's got over 20 years service at Arco, is our head of L&D. So his team have a number of initiatives, a number of programs which they run for our employees. That could be around utilising the apprenticeship levy to put somebody through a qualification. It may be that we fund that from their budget for Arco. It could be that we have something that changes within the industry. So one of the governing bodies may, for example, change a legislation, and then the L&D team have to, upskill our employees. So there's a number of different ways that we can, help people within Arco to progress in their career, or if just in fact actually, improve themselves to actually, 2 years down the line, maybe progress in their career as well.
Yeah, I think it's great that a company with that much heritage, 140 years, and obviously what we offer as well, like you say, all the initiatives and programs and supporting that growth, I think that's incredible. So can you share any examples of employees who've progressed within Arco and what their journeys kind of looks like from start to where they are now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I think Jamie Sadler is one that stands out. So Jamie is currently the director of the smaller business within Arco, so Arco Professional Safety Services. He has developed into that role over a number of years with Arco and now forms part of the exec team that report into Guy, our CEO. Another one that stands out is somebody who I've worked very closely with over my 2 years was Ian Gray. So Ian actually retired this year, but his only role or his only company that he worked for was Arco. From around 16 years old to, retiring this year, he solely worked for Arco, and he moved from entering into the business into a customer service role, into more sales roles, and then he actually retired as the L&D manager. So that's a prime example of how you can actually, zigzag in your career or move up in your career or actually move into different roles. And we will help you as a business develop that if that's your aspiration.
It's incredible. It really is. And what advice would you give to someone just starting at Arco who wants to advance their career here?
Good question. So absorb as much information as you can, I think, would be my main piece of advice. We have industry experts that have been with us for a number of years or have come from our competitors. So you can learn all about obviously what we do as a business, what the competition do, and actually what our industry means to the world, I suppose. You can also learn from experts who are experts in their profession. So, for example, people who we've hired in finance might not have come from the competition or the industry, but they are experts in what they do. So you've got the double-edged sword there of actually learning from the industry, but also learning from experts in their profession as well. So other than that, it would be to, work hard, get your head down, and, really push for what you want to do in your career, because, we're a large organisation, we're growing, we're transforming, and there will be the opportunity there to develop as well in the future.
Cool. And what does it look like? So in terms of, say, if you come in at entry level and then kind of stepping up, what does that progression look like? Do you go straight into manager from exec, or how would you build
there's a number of different routes. So we have progression frameworks. So essentially, which people can use. For me, for example, how do I get to the next level, which is that natural step, or you can decide where you want to go in your career. So for me, it might be that I don't want to be a HR leader, for example. I want to go and be a program manager, for example. So actually, it's all about learning from the people and working with the L&D team that we've got there and the wider talent team to actually understand what does that position do that I may want to move in. You can actually go and sit with them, go and work with them, get some experience from them. And then it may be at that point you don't decide you actually want to do that. So it's a case of actually the individual needs to decide where they aspire to go in their career and then work with the teams that we've got dedicated to that in-house to actually go and progress. So
amazing. So if I move on to training and development then.
Yeah.
So what kinds of training and development opportunities do Arco offer to its employees?
Yeah, great. No, so we have so Darren, who obviously is the head of L&D, we have a dedicated training platform, which Darren's team have developed actually recently to enhance that as part of the transformation program. There's lots of e-learning, which is generic to our industry or specific to things that go on in our industry. We've got as I mentioned earlier, the apprenticeship levy and the funding to be able to put people through training and qualifications, which they want to do as well. Darren's team also travel the width and breadth of the UK to all of our sites to do face-to-face training as well. So there's so many opportunities that you can utilise, particularly whether it be a change in legislation or it be something to help you improve in your career. Let's say the sales function, for example, to enable you to sell more or sell more profitably. There's a whole host of opportunity wherever you look within Arco, really, for that development.
Okay. And how does Arco ensure that employees are continuously developing the skills and staying up to date with industry trends sort of thing? So obviously it might be they get coaching, or we have performance reviews. Like, give us some examples with those.
Yeah, so performance reviews is a really good example. So as people managers, we do performance reviews and try and have that performance-based culture within the business to enable our employees to actually, as it says on the tin, go out there and perform. We also, as I touched on earlier with the legislation, so Darren's team in L&D and the wider talent team will work closely with governing bodies or companies out there which, drive what we do in the industry. Then obviously they'll work with them to develop some unique training or bring them in to do that training and obviously help develop our employees, with that side of training as well. So.
Right, interesting. And what do you think then? So changing over to kind of company culture and benefits, that's what I want to get to know. So what do you think makes Arco's company culture unique compared to everyone else within the industry?
Good question. I think we're in a really unique position of having this heritage and this 140-year history. Still being a family business and still, owned by the same family which set us up all them years ago, but being that commercial business as well. So we've got that really unique blend of actually all the great things that come with being a family business, but also all the great things that come with being a commercial business and, making sure that we sell and we're profitable and sustainable as well. And it's that unique blend that makes us quite different as an employer from our competitors, but also for our customers as well.
It is, because what you notice when you come to Arco is we're very family orientated, and it's like we are a family sort of thing.
Definitely,
and I think that comes from the 140 years, and it's been family owned and come up, and I think that's why we've got that kind of dynamic vibe. Yeah. Okay, so can you talk about some of the benefits and perks that employees enjoy at Arco? Yeah,
so we've touched on, I suppose, career development, L&D, the training side of obviously the benefits. We do some great initiatives. So the 2 fully paid days a year for the CSR for the volunteering, which comes on top of your holiday allowance. We've got quite a competitive holiday allowance at that as well, and you can purchase 5 more days per calendar year. We've got some really interesting benefits that aren't monetary as well. So for example, obviously we have the bonus scheme is monetary, so that is an example of a monetary one. So excuse me for that. But in terms of like employee discount on products, employee welfare, so like we've got the 24/7 access to our employer assistance program. We've got the cycle to work scheme. We've got the long service awards because obviously we've got a lot of long service within the business. What else have we got? We have a huge array of high street retailer discounts through our Arco Perks scheme. So we've got a whole vast array of reward here. And then our reward team that are part of the people team, they are also constantly looking at how we, develop that for our employees as well, because we're obviously in an ever-changing world of people want this and people want that, and new things come into the market. So they're constantly looking at how we can evolve that reward offering as well. So.
Yeah, great. Okay, and how does Arco prioritize work-life balance and employee well-being then?
So we benefit from where we can the hybrid working model, and obviously the flexible hours, which us as people managers, we're encouraged to obviously utilize with our employees. In this day and age, it's obviously a lot more about work-life balance now. We've had to adjust, particularly after COVID, to the new way of working, which is that hybrid, more remote working, where people now want to benefit where they can from home working. Where we have obviously the shift patterns, particularly in the distribution centres, we've tried to align them shift patterns to give stability and allow people to still have a work-life balance when they're in between shifts or in between them shift patterns. But yeah, we've also got things that we touched on earlier with the employee wellbeing and the EAP scheme. We've trained over 100 employees to be mental first aiders. So we've got a whole host of different things that we do here for our employees to allow them to benefit from a wellbeing perspective, but also from that work-life balance perspective, because it is so important.
Yeah, amazing. So I'm going to move on to speaking about recruitment and hiring here.
Yeah.
So this is your forte,
the $1 million question.
Yeah, your specialty. So what qualities do you look for in potential candidates when hiring for Arco?
Yeah. So the one thing I've probably brought to the business is I want us to be diverse in our thinking of how we go out to recruit new employees, and I suppose what we look for. That will then allow us to create that dedicated workforce that is diverse, is equitable, it is inclusive to everybody who wants to come here and join Arco. And what that gives us is a whole host of different experiences, different dynamics to our workforce. And then as we go through this transformation in particular, that creates ideas, it creates that continuous improvement mindset that we want to see across the business to allow us to become more profitable, sustainable, and I suppose grow for the future as well.
So my next question, in terms of the recruitment process, what does that look like? Because I know obviously with different roles, it depends on how many interviews you have and that sort of thing. But in terms of basic to that kind of higher up role, just what does that look like, the recruitment process?
Yeah, so I think you touched on it there, that we like to be fluid. So we don't want a one-size-fits-all recruitment process for every vacancy. We need to be able to adapt. We need to be agile in our approach to how we recruit. So essentially, myself and Ed, who works for me, Ed Trafford, who is my talent acquisition specialist in my team, we will often do a lot of headhunting. So we won't rely on applications. What we'll do is go out there and find the best people for Arco that are actively on the market or potentially aren't looking, and it's up to us to persuade them. What we've also got is obviously the applications that are coming in to the vacancies that we put on the careers website and job boards. So again, it's creating that inclusive, equitable process for them, but also being fluid and agile in that as well. So we'll work with the hiring managers once we've identified them candidates and screened them, to then come up with that interview process, which allows us to get the best out of the candidates and obviously make that right decision for us at the end of that process. So.
Right, okay. And are there any common misconceptions about working at Arco that you'd like to address now whilst we're here?
I mean, there's not many, to be fair. There is one that we only like to recruit from the health and safety industry. We do in some aspects, we don't in others. A lot of the time we won't look to recruit from our industry because I touched on it earlier, having people from a diverse background and obviously different experiences and different exposure, again, creates that diverse workforce that brings us them fresh ideas, that brings us that innovation, that brings us where we want to obviously get to with that transformation program, particularly which we're going through now, and that journey that we're on to grow as a business. So.
Yes, I can tell you, they definitely don't only hire from the health and safety industry, because I came from the sustainability industry and Jonathan found me. So so definitely not in that industry alone. Okay, so moving on to the future of Arco then. So what are some of the upcoming initiatives or goals that Arco has for improving employee experience and growth?
Yeah. So people team, we're currently working on developing our DE&I initiatives across the business. So we have the Arco Voice and our inclusion network, but we're looking to how do we, I suppose, develop DE&I across the business, not only from the people that we're bringing in, but actually how do we utilise that with our current employees. We're currently looking at developing more around internal mobility. So as we touched on earlier, how people zigzag or progress forward in their career to help people achieve their aspirations. We've got a piece on succession planning at the moment. So as people leave the business, what we want to be able to do is already have that successor in the business. Yeah. So actually when somebody leaves, we can just move somebody up and then obviously so forth. Rather than me having and Ed having to go out and recruit every time, we've got the people in the business that we can promote into them roles. So there's quite a few initiatives going on in the people team at the moment. We're under our own transformation to be able to offer our employees, what they need for us, I suppose, as a business to be able to go where we need to go and want to go.
Yeah, amazing. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, Jonathan. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners about working at Arco or opportunities within the company?
I think the only thing from me, Harrison, is that all of our vacancies, they are advertised on our careers website, so careers.arco.co.uk. If you do have any questions, email us, me and our email address, careers.arco.co.uk, sorry. From there, that's it really.
Amazing. Well, like I say, pleasure, Jonathan. Nice to have you as the first guest on the podcast and look forward to the more that's coming.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.